Hello everyone, welcome back to Review and Rate. Today we're entering into a world of supernatural mysteries and powerful abilities. That's right, we're using our flying superpower and launching random objects to uncover the secrets behind the bureau and delve into Control, a game developed by Remedy and released in 2019. If you're a fan of gripping narratives, supernatural horror, and immersive gameplay, you won't want to miss this awesome review. Now let's keep talking to ourselves and learn about the world of Control. Control has an amazing gameplay and mechanics which I enjoyed a lot. The game's best thing is that you control a character who has superpowers. Using this superpower, you can grab things, smash them, create shields out of nowhere, melee push things, and even fly, which creates a lot of options to play and kill enemies. These abilities can be upgraded to be more powerful as the player progresses through the game by paying with some kind of tokens you collect. You can also do things as a human, like jumping, sprinting, and crouching. Adding to those abilities and actions, the player can use weapons for killing enemies. These weapons include grip, a pistol, shatter, a shotgun, spin, a machine gun, pierce, a powerful gun that creates a big shot, charge, which creates up to 3 explosions, and surge, a grenade gun. Surprisingly, these weapons don't use ammo but require charging and waiting for them to cool down to use them each time, just like when the player uses the abilities. The weapons, like the abilities, can be upgraded, and each time they upgrade, they improve in a number of things. Another great thing is the variety of enemies, which I feel that each one shows their difference in their abilities to attack the player. I wish I could go over each enemy, who mainly are creatures called the Hiss, and talk about how fun it is to fight them. But there are a lot, and I just want to summarize it with that the enemies are tough and very fun to kill. Some may argue that their AI is not very good, but I disagree. While there are times when the AI can act weird, most of the times I didn't feel that way. I see this game being very difficult, with each enemy being strong and kill me out of nowhere. They even kill me when I'm hiding, or at least trying to hide, so I think their AI is way more better than many other games. Control is split into 2 types of missions, the main story missions and other side missions, including the DLC expansions of course. Despite the main missions being more focused with the story of the game, I find that the side missions in terms of boss fights mostly are way more fun, given that side missions boss fights look different and way more powerful than the main ones. Not to say that I don't like the main ones, but I had way more fun in the intense side ones. You will deal with a lot of damage coming from obstacles and enemies in your way, which doesn't regenerate automatically, but you have to collect blue stuff from dying enemies to regenerate your health, which I think brings better challenge to the game. Loading screens brings helpful advice so you won't get bored waiting. Puzzles are pretty straightforward and fun to do, which in my opinion test your abilities well sometimes. You can pick up things from boxes that are used for upgrading and do a noticeably awesome thing, which is breaking anything in your way, no matter what it was. An interesting thing is a conversation with other characters, whether it is a scene with them or just talking in the background, and having the ability to ask him the types of questions offered. Despite the game being only in the huge building called the FBC, it surprised me of the type of open world it has, where you can travel to a variety of different and good looking levels, which I thought was creative. Don't worry in case you want to travel to a far place. There is a fast travel option that will appear after you actually discover the place. Each level is different, despite some looking similar to one another. I won't mention many of these great levels, but one of those levels that are kind of similar is a white training room, which tests every new ability or weapon you get with enemies you fight. That really helps you out with learning that certain skill. The other similar looking level is the Ocean View Motel, which in each one you go to, contains a ring bell puzzle that you need to know how to solve and open the triangle door that will make you go on your way. This one does get repetitive, but I thought it wasn't very bad. The map shows you the way of how and where you can progress through the levels, which I thought was confusing at times. There are a lot of places where you think you are going the right way, but then don't. Like, I know it shows where the places are, and that part is good. But the bad part is when you keep looking around and sometimes noticing that the map is confusing me more than it's helping. One of the most interesting things about Control is the ability to gather collectibles around the maps. For example, you can collect files and books that contains helpful information about different kinds of things in the game, like enemies, and provide more information about the story, as well as collecting radios and shows which gives further details in the story, like those videos with workers of the FBC, Dr. Darling's presentation, which I thought were pretty good and enjoyable. Not to mention collecting the music and these weird doll shows, which I thought were a bit laughable but also scary at the same time in a good way. Just great things to collect all around while exploring. In addition, there are these things called hotlines which you get automatically as you progress, that gives insightful details about the former director of the FBC, Zachariah Trench, who talks about certain things in the story. For the saving part, I liked when the game saves automatically as the player gained control of checkpoints taken by the hiss, so I know when the game actually saves. But at other times, I thought it was kind of confusing. There are some instances when I passed through a lot of locations but didn't know that the game saved automatically because there is a small icon that you don't recognize when the game saves. I just rather save both ways, like manually and automatically, because I don't want to always wait for that icon to appear or to gain control of his places. I actually hated one thing in the game. It's that if you want to replay the game from the beginning, you actually have to delete everything you have done, and I mean everything. Why is that? Why are there no save files in the game? There's one time that I really wanted to replay the game and deleted all of my accomplishments. All my time in the game gone with only one click. That really bothered me despite having fun in the game, but whatever. Another thing that I thought was bad is that there are no difficulty levels. I feel like sometimes the game is too difficult and sometimes too easy. Why can't I pick a difficulty that satisfies my playthrough? The game is really challenging and fun, but sometimes I want to try it on easy to not have insane difficulty, and other times I want it to be challenging so I can try it on hard difficulty. Not being able to change that forces players to play on one, which makes someone like me play through a very difficult level and have no ability of completing it because of that. But anyways, let's move on to the story. Control has a great story filled with a bit of mystery and horror. The game's story, in my opinion, is one of the best. Certainly not better than Alan Wake, of course, but great nonetheless. To summarize, basically, the game starts with a character called Jessie Faden, who went to search for her younger brother, Dylan. A secret government institution called the Federal Bureau of Control took her brother when they were kids, so when she knew about the place, she found out about the one called the Oldest House. A friend of hers named Polaris, the one she talks to in her head, led her to that location. Somehow Jessie possesses some powers, probably due to her past. While she finds out later that Dylan has been possessed by the Hiss, it seems that Jessie is immune to the possession. When she gets there, she learns of a place's history, how their director Zachariah Trench committed suicide. Their head of research, Dr. Casper Darling, is missing, and that the whole place is overrun by the Hiss, killing most of the workers there. She discovers that there are people who are still alive, due to them wearing an HRA, a device made by Darling to prevent his possession. One of those people is Emily Pope, a researcher who helps Jessie in her tasks. She finds a mysterious person called Ati, who appears out of nowhere and helps her in traversing the place. In the end, she discovers her true past. The FBC wanted Dylan to be their next director, so they kidnapped him and kept watching Jessie her whole life since that day. Before the kidnapping, she and Dylan found a strong object called the slide projector, which led everyone in their town to disappear. And in the current day, this is what Jessie finds in the bureau. After the Hiss corrupts Jessie's mind when she gets to the dimensional research, we are shown to a fake ending. Then we know that Jessie resisted the Hiss and freed herself. Finally, we find out that Trench opened the slide projector, and this is what led him to be controlled by the Hiss, and what caused his suicide and FBC's Hiss invasion. In any way, after closing the portal to the Hiss realm, she then accepts her role as the new director of the FBC to keep the lockdown of the place and make sure that the Hiss problem ends. I actually liked the events and the ending of the story. It starts on a mysterious note and then ends with a satisfying conclusion that leaves any player looking for answers on the different things not found in the game. Some people may find the ending confusing, but I think that keeps the players wanting more explanation to the story in the future is what makes the story amazing. This kind of story is engaging for me, because I like the interaction between the characters and certainly enjoy them asking questions between each other, which makes it more mysterious and interesting, which is what I would like to see more of in the future. There is nothing that I felt was silly or recognizable. It was all done in a great way that kept me focused on the story. Now let's get to the graphics. Control's graphics is one of the best things about the game. It has fantastic visuals that makes me enjoy just looking around. The amount of detail in this game is amazing. I am impressed at how when I look at different objects, I can see the effort put into making them look real. Anything I break, a crack can be seen in the wall or on the ground, which shows the players that anything they do will affect the world around them. The lighting, whether it is the normal one, the training room, the red color in some places, or the dark places, it all fits together to create a wonderful atmosphere. If you think that's all great, let me just talk about how good looking the characters are, especially Jessie Faden herself. Just if you compare her character with the actual actor who plays that specific person, you can hardly notice any difference. Very impressive character models. And in terms of the enemies, you can see the terrifying faces of the Hiss corrupting the humans. If you take a closer look at each of these enemies, you can notice their transformation from a person to something else, and of course the red appearance after the Hiss take over. With all these great visuals, I can't find a single negative thing about the graphics. It will sure impress a lot of people who look for good looking games. With that taken out of the way, let's talk about the sound design. Control has an amazing sound design as expected from a game about mystery and horror. The soundtracks, including the ones in the battles with the enemies, the level's overall atmosphere sound, and especially the sound of Jessie's different powers, all contribute to the game being more fun. Each time I use my abilities in the game, I just really enjoy hearing their sound. I don't know, but it's unique and clever in my opinion. And add to that the terrifying sounds of the Hiss coming from all directions. Like I said about the Taken in my last review of Alan Wake, the Hiss sound poses the same amount of fear that I got from that game, but now in Control. Just hear the Hiss sound and tell me that's not terrifying. Very creepy. Furthermore, the different music in this game are just phenomenal. Ones such as Take Control, My Dark Disquiet, and Sankarin Tango all fit with the story's events, and they make me want to go back and listen to them again. While Take Control and My Dark Disquiet brilliantly tells Control's story in some ways through a song, Sankarin Tango talks about how the three games, Alan Wake, Quantum Break, and Control, fit together into one great song that, although it is in Finnish, it really brought me to appreciate the story more. And add to all this great audio, the voice acting in my opinion is just as good. While I can relate to Alan Wake's voice more in that game, I can certainly say that Jessie's voice is as powerful. The sound of her voice gives very much character development and makes me connected with the character where I can understand how she feels.
I know I shut you out sometimes. I'm always glad to hear from you. It's just that I get my hopes up.
Now that I talked about how great the sound is, let's turn to the last part, which is the replayability. Control's replayability gives a few options to replay the game, but I think they are good nonetheless. After finishing the main story, there are two DLCs that you can play in. One of them is called The Foundation. which is basically a side story about Jesse going to a hidden place that provides further details about the bureau and gives the players more information about the story. The other one, which is the one I cared for the most, is called AWE, which is about connecting Control's story with Alan Wake. It talks about Alan making one of his attempts to escape the darkness from that game's events by writing a story about Jesse. Eventually, Jesse goes down the elevator to some secret place where she finds the dark possessed Dr. Hartman, the person who disappeared in Alan Wake, and takes him down, only to end it with a mysterious scene. I enjoyed the Foundation, it was fun and I learned more about Control's story. But like I said, AWE was much better in my opinion, because it's connected to Alan Wake of course, so why not? And also because AWE reminded me of Alan Wake. Like when I had to take out the dark stuff using the light and defeat Dr. Hartman by staying away from dark places and defeating him with the light. I mean, just all these events reminded me of the game I liked very much, so playing that in Control was amazing. And other than the DLCs, just play the game again and have fun exploring more and defeating enemies. When you finish the game, you can actually go back and do whatever you want. Even the enemies keep respawning in many places, so you have the opportunity to play in battles as much as you want and have fun fighting enemies using all the superpowers you have unlocked. Also try out the arcade machine in the AWE DLC. It is basically just you play as Jesse fighting waves of enemies, which is good for challenging yourself and mastering the game. Like I said in the beginning of the review, if you want to restart the game, you have to delete the file and everything you did, which is what annoys me because I like to sometimes play the story from the beginning. So that is the one and only negative thing about playing the game. And since all that is concluded, let's summarize my overall impression of the game. In conclusion, Control provides great gameplay and mechanics, a mysterious and scary story, fantastic graphics, and amazing soundtracks that had me wanting more from this game, with a possible future sequel, which I will be definitely looking forward to. While there are some negatives like not being able to choose a difficulty level to play with, and the save file being deleted if I try to start the game in any way, these problems, while annoying, they are small and don't affect the amazing stuff you can do in the game. So, as you can expect, it definitely deserves a high score, so here we go. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more insightful review videos. Feel free to share your thoughts on whether the points I've raised resonate with you or if you have a different perspective. And leave your suggestions in the comments about which game you'd like to see reviewed next. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video and thank you all for watching.